Welcome to NFL Daily, where the Giants would never prioritize us in free agency. I'm Gregg Rosenthal, and beyond lucky today to be joined in the studio for the top of the show by Patrick Claybon and Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic. Do not forget the of The Athletic part.
Nailed it.
It's important.
He's got to be at training camp next week, covering the Rams for now. We got you here. It's a little bit different of a show. You guys are joining me for the news portion, and then I'm going to throw it to your mortal enemy, Daniel Jeremiah, Patrick Claybon, and we're going to draft some quarterbacks later.
I'm trying to develop this DJ and Patrick rivalry, but the dude is carried. He's carried me for a long time. He's best.
How are you doing, Jourdan?
Well, I'm doing good. I'm ready for the slow burn and frenzy of training camp into the season. Stoked about it.
You showed up today to the office, Jourdan. Got there hours early, like game face on, saying kind of your off season is over.
Built for this.
You're ready to go.
I'm locked in. I'm built for this.
Well,
what other cliche? I got a chip. Best shape of my life.
There it is.
What's with the chip tracker, Patrick? Patrick is the internet's foremost chip on the shoulder tracker.
The chip tracker normally this next week is when I need help, because some people will notify me like when there's a shoulder chip. The most important part is the chip has to be self-applied. We can talk about when a teammate says, "Oh yeah, Baker's got a chip on his shoulder." That doesn't count. It's most important when the player themselves says that they have a chip, and that's how we can add it to the tracker.
Jaylen Brown this week self-applied a rare offseason chip on the shoulder for not being put on the Olympics team. So I'm tracking that situation. In the meantime, look, Texans are officially practicing. They're in camp. Patrick Mahomes is throwing footballs. We're going to talk about him. The Ravens and the Chiefs are under 50 days away. Like, things are happening. And let's get to the news to start it all off.
It still scared me. I knew it was coming.
Sorry to whoever caught that bolt.
Still scared me.
That news drop in a folder titled Randy's Big Dumb Idea. We love you, Randy. We love your big dumb ideas.
That's an awesome drop.
I think that's going to stick. But y'all who are listening can let us know what you think. You know who else is sticking? Davante Adams. We talked about him a couple days ago and just the summer of Davante and all the speculation. And I really think this is just because there's been no news going on, and he's been a fun topic for the morning shows. But his agent released a statement, his agents, Kenny Chapman and Frank Bauer, and they were quoted saying, "This is baseless and unfounded speculation, and Davante is expected to be with the Raiders as there have been absolutely no trade talks, period." So they just tried to shut this story off for a little bit.
I wish they would give us a link in the statement as to what particular assertion was speculation, like the idea, right?
Like where it came from.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like
Cite it.
Orlovsky, I think it's ESPN.
Like, what's the specific one? Because I feel like there's just like conversation about like hypotheticals, but for it to necessitate a statement, it feels like that's at somebody, right?
You could go like full galaxy brain and say, maybe it came from nowhere, but it's just continuing the conversation. You're just putting it out there.
Well, it's partly from
Galaxy
Davante
brain.
Adams and Aaron Rodgers talking about it and him getting asked about it, but ESPN is needed to drive some morning programming this week, and I think there was one, and it was just an opinion that he thinks this is going to happen. If you were going to trade Davante Adams, you would never do it before the season. Could you do it in the season if the Raiders are really struggling? I don't think it really makes sense. It doesn't make sense for their cap. Does not make sense to try to win games.
I think it's important for everyone to remember that the peak of these emotions that he expressed happened a long time ago in football timeline, context. Like, the show Receiver just came out, and obviously they're on the publicity tours and the press tours for it and all that stuff, getting asked lots of questions about it. But like, the peak of the emotion of this situation has already passed a long time ago. Coaching staff overhauled, quarterback in question is gone. Like, this all happened a while ago. So, and Antonio Pierce, it sounds like, has really made some inroads with players and all of that. So, I mean, I think that's important context to remember too.
There could be two trade situations that don't make sense, but could make sense, as Twitter user Pretty Ricky 213 suggested this week, that maybe it's Davante Adams for Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers, right? They get some of that this year juice, and the Raiders could solve a problem. That's what Pretty Ricky 213 is suggesting. I don't know.
And Antonio Pierce knows
It's not crazy.
Brandon Ayuk pretty well, if I recall from
Arizona
Free
State.
transfer. Go Devils.
Wow. Let's throw that out into the ether.
I mean, it's pretty
Release a
risky.
statement on that.
Cite us.
Adams. And you know what? The money isn't nearly as bad. When I looked at a trade would only cost $7.8 million in dead money if it happened during the season. It would be the same if it was in the off season, and they'd save a lot of cap room. So it's actually one of those things that you hear and you're like, oh, that'll never happen. But that could happen. That actually makes sense to me. I don't think it would happen until the season, but that would be fun. You know who is throwing footballs right now? Not at this exact moment, but earlier today on a football field, the Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. How about that?
Could you do your throwing motion again? Because I really think the people watching on YouTube need to see.
Did I do one?
How? I mean,
no,
actually, I wouldn't actually qualify.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't actually categorize it in that category necessarily, but the people. It's for the people.
I mean, I throw the ball around at the beach a decent amount. Me and my son, but that's about it. It's not a regulation ball. Those, my hands not big enough. Let's listen to Patrick Mahomes, who talked at Kansas City Chiefs training camp. It is happening. It's their quarterbacks and their rookies for now, but that means Mahomes and the rest of the veterans will be there in a couple of days. He talked about how last year wasn't always the best time.
I mean, obviously the end result was awesome, but I mean, I think a lot of us still have a weird feeling in our mouth because I mean, we really didn't play the football the way we wanted to play all year long, and it wasn't fun. I mean, every single week having to try to just continue to get better and better, and results not paying off the way you wanted to. It wasn't a lot of fun. We have a lot of those same guys back.
I thought that was noteworthy. First of all, this came up in Connie's courtroom.
Great, by the way.
You enjoyed that?
First of all, she knows this. She is an icon.
Sure.
Second of all, that was so funny. Patrick's rant was really. I disagreed with certain things. We'll get to it.
Certain rulings,
but that was really fun.
It was kind of what I was getting at. I'm not doing this to pat myself on the back. That last year wasn't always the most fun for them, but I thought that was noteworthy because I think they want to add a little more fun back into the offense. Andy Reid talked a lot about going deep. Patrick Mahomes had a year where he did not throw the ball very deep whatsoever. Xavier Worthy was on the field, one of those rookies practicing. That's noteworthy because he missed most of the offseason with a hamstring injury, and he was ready to go. And Mahomes said in that press conference, we don't have time for him to get used to things and get up to speed. He's going to be a big part of the offense right away.
And when because ultimately you could hear the reaction from people, you could feel how people are going to react. It's like, oh, you win the Super Bowl? That's not fun. But it was a way in a guy who has done nothing but get buckets his entire career, going back to high school, right, in college, scoring 1 billion points a game. The defense kind of carried them to a championship.
Yeah. Even in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, literally in the game.
I didn't rewatch that game until recently, until about 3 weeks ago. And you forget just Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, which is kind of nice symbiotic balance because the Chiefs defense was pretty trash in the Super Bowl before, and Patrick Mahomes saved them. So that's how you win Super Bowls, helping each other out.
You know what's fun? Speed. Speed is fun. Catching the ball is fun. Speed and catching the ball are both fun. I think that when a lot of times these young people come out for the draft and they're training the entire offseason for specifically one thing, and that is the combine and their pro day, and all of this major conglomerate now exists to basically train all of these athletes for these specific moments, which do eventually, and you hope, add zeros to their paychecks and things like that. But it's really easy to tweak a hammy. It's really easy to, once you get back into football movement, your body hasn't been doing actual football movement. You've been training for testing and those types of things. So you hear this a lot when rookies have their first onboarding or uploading period in OTAs, that the teams are just extra careful with them. Soft tissue especially being something that can come up as a big problem when you have really fast twitch athletes. So I do think that it's going to be really fun to watch him get immersed into this offense. And like I said, speed is fun. Speed is really fun. I want to see a little Andy Reid meets Mike McDaniel vibes happening in this offense a little bit. It's going to be fun.
So Marquise Brown, also part of this team, not always as consistent catching the ball, but gets open. And to me, if you put him on last year's Chiefs team, I would have taken him over rookie Rashee Rice for most of the year. Like, I think he would have been the Chiefs' best receiver. I think Xavier Worthy is a much better route runner. Now I just got bucket getter in my head. Like, then people give him credit for. Like, he was absolutely the one on the same team with A.D. Mitchell because he was just open all the time. The defenses were going towards him, and he got open. And he is not just a speed threat. So I'm excited, but they need those two guys to stay healthy because Rice might not be there for the beginning of the season. Andy Reid did say he has not heard anything. No surprise there in terms of what the timing is going to be with the potential Rashee Rice suspension. So we will see on that. The Broncos did some news on Tuesday rather. Signing Quinn Miners, 4-year,
he did it.
$80 million.
I thought you were going to chicken out, and you did it. I love it.
5-year, really a 5-year, $83 million because it's tacking on. And if you're watching on YouTube, yeah, please like and subscribe and just marvel at the belly of Quinn Miners.
It's funny because Jourdan is making me think of, the Exos training and all this stuff for wide receivers and running a fast time. And then you have the Quinn Miners aspect where it's more about...
This is peak athlete right here.
It's more about facilitating a vibe, and he's still doing it. Like, he's still doing it. So
right. Like, Serena got a lot of credit for winning the Australian Open pregnant, but Quinn Miners played a whole NFL season. I mean, that's impressive.
That's so mean.
I mean,
he's got his belly.
He's
like
loud and proud.
He's branded
He's loud
it.
and proud.
He's branded
I will
it.
say, I'm a little bitter. Millennial fashion is we get roasted a lot by Gen Z. Crop tops are back. I'm not a crop top girly myself. Can't pull it off. Never could. Kind of blame Quinn Miners for the inspiration on some of this crop top stuff.
Yeah,
you walk into Target now and everything is a crop top at this point. This is going to be my millennial rant.
I love that. Yeah, it's I'm hearing from our producer Jason. It's popular with the 6-year-olds even too. So it's out there, and yeah, that's the most we'll probably talk about Quinn Miners this season. But nice career. He showed up at the Senior Bowl. I'm serious. Like, he showed up at the Senior Bowl as a D3 athlete who had a season canceled to COVID, hadn't played football in over a year at that point. He won Practice Player of the Week. Like, the Senior Bowl can really change lives. He got drafted in the 3rd round, and now he's getting recognized as a top shelf guard. We've had a couple little, PUP things that have caught my eye as rookies show up. Ricky Pearsall's not healthy. Theo Johnson, an interesting tight end rookie for the Giants, not healthy, so they're on the PUP list early. Sticking on Giants, let's wrap this news with some takeaways from Hard Knocks. I've really enjoyed this season of Hard Knocks. I'm now into watching it the night it comes out. I think it's the best overall Hard Knocks product in a minute. It's just different, and we're learning things, and you're part of moments that you normally wouldn't expect, including this moment. This is Joe Schoen, the general manager of the Giants, when he is talking to Saquon Barkley's agent, essentially telling him that they are not going to re-sign Saquon Barkley.
Good day for you. Good day to be Ed Berry. What's my man gonna get? North of what you said? 12.5 APY, 25 guaranteed. North of that? Again, we're not gonna go there. We're out. Is it in the division? I'm trying to prepare myself mentally for what's gonna happen. I mean, that's all.
Joe Schoen preparing himself mentally. You can stream all the episodes of Hard Knocks on Max like I do. I learned a bunch of things in this episode, so I'm going to go through a few of them. One of them you kind of heard there, that I think the Giants misread the running back market. I think based on what we saw on the show, they never really wanted to pay Saquon his money. That seemed obvious enough, even from the outside. But I think he thought that they were going to save at the position because they presented how many running back free agents were available. And look, Devin Singletary, who they loved, he only got a 1-year 2.5 a year ago. There's so many out there. We're going to get someone. They ended up paying Devin Singletary at $9 million. Not that much below where their initial offer for Saquon was. That total that he heard from the Eagles, and the Eagles topped it even by another $1 million, was not a surprise to him. They knew that money earlier in the day. At no point did they really sound that interested in him. It just sounded like Shane was trying to be respectful and balance dealing with his boss, because it was pretty clear that John Mara, the owner, would have loved to have Saquon back. And I think Shane was trying to be respectful to his owner, but also make a tough decision and move on.
What I really liked about this and a couple of other moments in the season of Hard Knocks so far is you are seeing that, like, I don't want to say tension, but you are seeing that emotion come through from the guy who owns the team, and then how the other people in management do have to navigate that. I mean, that's his boss. So how you navigate making a decision that your pro scouting department and your front office has already like rationalized to itself, and going through all of the logic of that, and it could end up to backfire. We don't know yet, but going through all of the points that they created within that pro scouting department, but then also navigating the owner walks in with a cup of coffee and he's nervous about it, and that's a dynamic that we don't often see. So that's what I appreciate about this season is seeing some of that like push pull, some of that like just that's very real in buildings that happen.
The Eagles part of it was real. I don't think that they were happy about that. John Mara especially. I think Shane might have gotten in his feelings a little bit, and it is edited heavily, but there were a couple little moments that you could tell. The holdout last year, he said like that put 10 years on his life. And that's not the reason why we don't want to go through it again, but you could tell like he thought he made such a good effort to Saquon a year ago, and Saquon didn't sign that, and maybe the Giants were painted as the bad guys. That to me, I thought he might have been in his feelings a little bit because it was not unanimous. You could tell even in his own personnel department, they would have some of them would have liked to have Barkley back.
Well, yeah, and I think people who have interacted with Saquon could see
awesome
why you would want him to be on your football team. But I think the silver lining, I guess, for fans that might be frustrated by it is the only way that this can work is if ownership isn't making all of these decisions. Like ultimately, people need to be empowered to make the decisions that they want to make. They can be wrong. Right, and people will probably feel that if Saquon goes for 217 against the Giants in MetLife, of course everybody's going to instantly react and feel like it was wrong. But if you're not building this whole team around one person, regardless,
right?
Whether it's a quarterback or not, you still have to have a system and a structure and a plan to go in place. And yeah, like to me, from the outside looking in, the plan was never to have Saquon. It was just
I agree.
To have Saquon this year.
They just didn't. They wanted to spend on the offensive line. They wanted to sign 3 offensive line starters. They wound up with 2. John Runyon, who they extended more money than they really expected, Jermaine Illuminor, and they were hoping to get Robert Hunt. And once the Brian Burns contract came in, it just was too much, and the Panthers came over the top, so they couldn't get Robert Hunt. So I'm going to just fire through a couple other things. Number one, that were my takeaways. Number one, the Panthers could have gotten more from the Burns deal. Because the internal conversations when it started in the Giants building was they thought it was going to be a 1+. And it wasn't a 1+. And I give Shane credit. And of course, they show the parts that make them look good. I don't hate him for it. But like even when the Panthers tried to come back with a 7th at the very end.
That's an ego 7th.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone. Obviously, I think Dan Morgan's going to do a good job over there. But like that's okay, just like make this look a little different than what it is.
Right. And Shane was not having it. And he was just like, come on, like you're my guy. And that's another thing we hear like, oh, it's all about relationships, in the NFL, player movement, different things. Like, I can promise you, if Dan Morgan was not in Joe Shane's wedding or vice versa, whatever, like they're really close. Like, Brian Burns would not be on the Giants. Not that they didn't have mutual needs and it made sense. I think it did make sense, especially for the Giants. But it just wouldn't have happened. It would happen because they are like such good friends. And that, to me, that's kind of crazy that's how it works, but it makes sense. That's how life works. They all watch NFL Network a ton. Like it's on all day. Like Judy Batista, all over this episode. Love that. When Mike Garafolo announced it, I want to get this clip for a future show. The joy of Joe Shane's face when they talked about Joe Shane, and he like looks at Mike Garafolo it was like heartwarming. They have it all over. And that's it for my main takeaways. But I think it's been fascinating. Again, check out the new season of Hard Knocks. I've been enjoying it. Also, check out Jourdan at The Athletic and Patrick Claybon, who's just been all over this week. Appreciate you, buddy. And you guys are going to say goodbye for now.
Okay.
And we're going to say hello to Move the Sticks, Daniel Jeremiah, on the other side of the break. We're going to draft quarterbacks for 2024 only. This was compelling.
Glad to have a front row seat.
I finally proved I know more about quarterbacks than Daniel Jeremiah.
Was the segment exactly 37 minutes long?
Something like that. Back after the break. Welcome back to NFL Daily. When I asked my next guest, Daniel Jeremiah, to come on this week, I thought, let's get DJ while he's not busy before it gets really crazy. Little did I know this is the last thing he is doing before going on vacation to Alaska. So, Daniel Jeremiah, thank you for squeezing in a little time while you can before the season gets going.
I appreciate you having me, Greg, and appreciate you sending me the memo on us dressing, in all black today. Let's keep this thing, keep this thing locked in.
Check us out on YouTube. DJ representing App State. Very popular team on the new EA Sports college football game. Supposedly he influenced that happening just a little bit. So I listen to Move the Sticks regularly. I know we've had fun over the years, kind of joking about oh, is that a podcast? Is that not a podcast? But Daniel Jeremiah does a great job hosting with Bucky Brooks. And I think it's a great idea because it's a podcast that just exists during NFL draft season and then goes away for the rest of the year when Daniel gets too busy. So I know you're hankering for more drafts, Daniel, and I'm always impressed. You and Bucky do these mock drafts, and it'll be complicated. It'll be all offense or all defense, and you bang them out in 25 minutes. And I'm jealous of how efficient and how you aren't long-winded. So we're gonna try to do the same thing, but we're gonna draft quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks. You were the person who I wanted to hear the opinion on more than anyone on this. You're a former quarterback, of course, and I don't get to hear you draft NFL quarterbacks. So here are the parameters, DJ. We're going to go quick. We already said that. We're each taking one quarterback from each team, so only 32 picks, no matter what. You can't take a backup on a team. You can only take one guy, and it's just for this year. It's it's just 2024.
No lifetime achievement award.
No lifetime achievement. No next 3 years either, which would obviously help out the young guys. And, I want you to start. I'll give you the first pick overall. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Any guess on how many soap/mayonnaise reads that I give you in the midst of this ranking? Don't answer that question.
Okay, yeah. When we launched this show, I just said, can the first show, can we just not have a ad before the first show? I don't want the first thing people hear about NFL Daily.
You had that
Daniel
kind of poll,
Jeremiah talking about Irish Spring. Second show, that's great. Or even middle of the show, that's great. But I don't want to open the show with that.
Okay, before I make my first pick, I will say that through this whole time, and it's great to see you back, and excited for the guys and what they have coming up. But I did discover the Reddit thing. So it's the for me, selfishly, the best thing that's happened over the summer was me discovering this Reddit page and discovering how much disdain there is for my ad reads. That you have no idea the joy that brought me.
I try to keep my head down, but people should
fantastic.
Respect it. I love the ad reads.
I'm going to take Mahomes.
Yeah. That's simple. I was doing something for last week. I saw he was the first player in 7 years to hold the ball as long as he held it and throw it as short as he threw it, which is okay, they're going to throw it deeper this year, but I want a little more exciting Mahomes. I'm going exciting at number 2. I'm going Josh Allen. I know there's a lot going on around him this year, and he's a little streakier than you would want. But I still think he has an MVP season in him. You kind of forget he's 28, a season where he puts all the mental side together and the physical side, so I feel good about Josh Allen at 2. Yeah,
he would have been my number 2 pick as well. So I'm and I'll tell you what, as somebody who pushed all his chips in on Kincaid going into that draft, it's only the second year, but I feel like we're getting ready to reap the rewards of that. I thought I loved him individually as a player, and I couldn't have loved the fit more with him and Josh. And I think with Diggs gone now, you're going to see him. That's another podcast for another day. But I'm very bullish.
I think he good rookie year. He was top 10.
Solid.
I think receptions all time in tight ends.
I know if Laporta doesn't have the year he has, I think there's even more buzz on him. But all right, so now I get to the third pick, and again, I just want him to stay healthy. If he stays healthy, I think I'm going to feel really, really good about this. I know he didn't get off to a good start even when he was healthy last year, but I'm going to choose to believe in the best of Joe Burrow and getting the ball out on time. And I think having I don't always buy into people going into their contract years and now they're hungry and now they care. I don't know if I buy into all that, but I do believe in the talent of T. Higgins, and there is obviously extra motivation there to go along with Chase. So I'm going to take Joe Burrow with my next one.
I didn't even write down notes for Burrow because I just knew. I thought you would take him ahead of me because I got a few people ahead of Burrow. I like traits. I'm not a scout, but as great as he is, he's had a couple injuries, and the traits just aren't quite as exciting as the other options, including Lamar, who's my pick at 4th overall. Okay. Everyone wanted a season where, okay, let's see your volume go up. Like, okay, he had about 680 dropbacks last year. His efficiency went up. They asked him to do more. He came through. He's not the extraordinary best of all time runner that he used to be, but he's still one of the top 5 runners in the NFL. And I just think he's processing better. It's a nice offense for him, but he showed to me that you can ask him to do everything, have the ball like that back, dropping back on every play. And I think he's going to be better in year 2 of this offense. So I like Lamar.
Yeah. By the way, will there be a team? This is a good topic. We can do another day, or you can go ahead and do it on your own, Greg. But I would love to eventually have kind of that long conversation about who are going to be the best 12 personnel teams, who are going to be the best 2 tight end personnel teams. And I think with them, with the Ravens, with likely seeing what he could do last year, get Andrews healthy for a full season, I could make the case that's the best 12 personnel team in the NFL.
We did talk about that a little bit, not who's the best, but just talked about the teams like the Packers, the Ravens, that are really, the Bills will be there, an uptick, and just have 2 great tight ends, the Ravens rather, as well.
A team that might surprise you that's going to be a Big 12 personnel team is going to be the team that I'm going to take their quarterback with the next pick, and that's Justin Herbert with the 5th pick. And you talk about traits, there's none better just in terms of the traits. And one of the things, in calling all of his games, it's still funny to me, like when you go down to the field before the game, and I have friends on all these different teams, and if it's somebody from the personnel department, a GM, a scouting director that hasn't, maybe they've seen him in college, but they haven't seen him in the NFL, I haven't stood next to him. I love getting the reaction when you go down there on the field and they kind of run out and they all just kind of lose their focus in the conversation. They're like, that dude is huge. I'm all, yeah, no, you don't appreciate just how big this guy is. But I think you're going to see Disley and Hurst in kind of an underrated, a different style of 12 personnel team with how they're going to try and run the ball with those guys. And then I think they'll get some matchups that they like, even though the receiving core is going to be all brand new. But Justin Herbert would be my pick there. I don't know that statistically it's going to be some crazy year. Like if we're doing this as a purely fantasy football draft, I don't know that I would take him there. But if you're saying who's going to help me win the most games and doing what's asked of him, I'll take Herbert.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why we have DJ on. I haven't heard anyone talking about that 2 tight end set. And those were quiet signings, but they were priority signings for the Chargers. Also makes you wonder, here and there, it is Jim Harbaugh as a coach. Wouldn't mind seeing Justin Herbert just use his athleticism and in the run game just a little bit more. Famously, Jeremiah ranked Herbert like a little low.
Say the name.
Coming into the draft. Yeah, he was 20th. He was one spot below, I believe, Texans draft pick Ross Blacklock. And after a while, I felt like even though Jeremiah is far more successful and athletic and tall and handsome than me, I felt like I was actually punching down on Jeremiah with this, just killing him for this over and over. And I was like, I'm going to stop it. There was a point where I was like, I'm no longer going to bring it up. But then the last time I think you were on the show, you brought it up. So I was like, okay, it's open season. I'll bring it up again.
Yeah. You know what's funny, though, is obviously not the Ross Blacklock part of that whole thing. But the other part of that, this is what's so great about the draft, is that you can have literally articles written, winners and losers, right? The draft is just completed. They've not even had a practice yet. And then the verdict is in. And then in that draft, do you remember? Because I initially had Jordan Love ahead of Herbert. And then through the process, the Senior Bowl and everything, and I ended up putting Herbert over Jordan Love. But then, for 2-3 years, it was like, how could that even be a conversation? Like, Jordan Love doesn't play. Justin Herbert is this elite, going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, just like that, now it's like you'll see legitimate conversations between those 2 guys or about those 2 guys as we kind of head on into the future. So that's kind of like a little snippet of the life of a scout, I guess, when you're going through the process.
It's a good example too, because I'm sure Love is coming up, but I agree with you on Herbert. I struggled to rank just doing this Herbert or my next pick, CJ Stroud ahead, and that's where we'll see in 3 years. Maybe I'm getting ahead over my skis, but
where I was going,
1st to 2nd year leap is usually really impressive for quarterbacks. The processing, he led the NFL in QB rating versus zone coverage, which I just think shows his mental ability. He's obviously got all the intangibles, the leadership. I feel like I could talk about CJ Stroud every show, but just such a pretty ball. And if you told me like he could be the second best quarterback in the league, I don't know. I think pound for pound, probably the best rookie season that I've covered. It's close. Herbert's there. Luck is there. RG3 was certainly great. Newton, but I think pound for pound, Stroud was like the highest of just like top level traits as a rookie. So I have a hard time putting him any lower.
He was an interesting study. I went back after, probably after the draft was over. I had a little bit of time, and I wanted to go through his tape and just see, like, this was incredible. Just seeing what he accomplished, and wanted to see more so than just how he played, but what the progression was of how they used him. And if you go back and look at it, I believe it was like the first 2 games, that dropbacks like 55, 59 times. And then they took like 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks, where he didn't drop back to throw it more than 35 times. And it was almost like they let the waters kind of calm down. They let him just get comfortable and then let him see everything. And then it was like, I think the Tampa game where he has an unbelievable game and they come back and win. But then like the rest of the season, he just took off. And literally it was like the training wheels were removing those from the bike. You can do everything. And just the game's not supposed to be that slow for a rookie. He made it look really, really slow. No, he would have been my pick there. So I'm with you on CJ Stroud. This is where it starts to get kind of interesting, I think, because now we go from, I don't know where you were, but like the previous picks, Mahomes was his own guy. But after that, it was kind of, if you're slotting them, it was this guy or that guy. There's 2 names.
Top 6 was easy for me. I agree. I pretty much had a clear top 6.
Yes. But I mean, like even in the top 6, you're like, okay, it's to me like Herbert, Stroud, Lamar, Burrow. Like there's kind of a look. Now it's like you're in the ocean and there's like, there's a million different options you can go with, and you can go with different theories and different styles. Man, I'll tell you what, this is going to be the opposite of what you said, because you are, and I should be probably this way as a scout, you are locked in on traits. This guy's not going to wow you with traits, but I think he's proven himself to be really, really good at playing the position. So I'm going to go with Brock Purdy with my 7th pick. And I know that if we're going to stack him up traits wise, he doesn't stack up, but at some point in time, like we have to stop excusing his success. And I feel like last year I got to the point where I was like, okay, the processing, the decision-making, the accuracy, if we're going to say those are probably the 3 most important parts of playing the quarterback position over, pure arm strength and pure athleticism. I talked to Adam Peters, who's the GM of the Commanders, and we were talking about his, process going through trying to pick between, Caleb Williams and doing his homework on Caleb Williams, as well as doing his homework on the quarterback that he ended up getting in Jaden Daniels, and talking about that, and then looking at Drake May. And I said, well, what's the lesson you learned from Purdy? Like, you guys just went through this thing. The guy was Mr. Irrelevant. What's the lesson? He said, the lesson is our job is to get the guy who's the best at quarterbacking. And I thought, like, the way he said that, I was kind of like, yeah, because we can talk about everything else, right? Arm strength, the ability to improvise, the creativity to play. He's like, at the end of the day, can you communicate the play call? Can you execute the play call? Like, that's what he does really, really well. So I'm going to take Purdy.
He was way lower on my list, but he has improved incrementally. Like, he was definitely a much better player by the end of last year. I think people have this first image that he has, and he's a very young quarterback, so he can keep improving. But I'm glad you didn't take him. I struggled with where to go here, but I'm going traits. Like I said, I'm going Matthew Stafford for now. I just think he finished last season playing as well as ever. I think the way McVay keeps him engaged with the play call, like, I'm not saying he's going to have a Brady-like run. He's not, and I would just worry about his health, and that's the risk here. But we've seen with Rodgers and Brady, like, sometimes quarterbacks can play some of, if not their best ball, mid to late 30s. I thought Stafford did last year. I think he can do everything, so he's my pick.
All right. I've got 3 guys I'm looking at here, but I'm on to, in terms, this is someone who I think obviously has a ton of talent, has continued to get better. I love the system that they have around him. I love the continuity, which, one of the things, I won't get way off track because I know we'll run out of time here, but I read this book, you'll love it, by Adam Grant. Do you read Adam Grant's stuff?
No.
Think Again is a book that he wrote that did really well. He has a book called Hidden Potential. And in it, it's a lot of stuff you can carry over from like a business world into the football world. But he talked about Finland's education system and how one of the things that they do and why they've been so successful is this thing called looping, where you have the same teacher maybe from first grade all the way through sixth grade, so that when you start the next year, you don't start over. They know where each student is, and they can pick up where they left off, and then that's why you have more growth. And I thought, man, continuity might be the most underrated aspect in the NFL in terms of offensive play caller and quarterback. And I think Ben Johnson staying in Detroit and Jared Goff getting another chance to move on and continue to grow in that system with the talent around him, I think he has a monster year. I'll take Jared Goff.
Okay. I'm happy. I hear you. And yeah, my son had second and third grade. They had the same teacher. It did make a big difference. But look, I want someone that can learn no matter who the teacher is. This guy, Dak Prescott, Walker, my son looked at this list for me. This was his big take, was Dak is too high on your list. But I think people forget he was so good last year. He hasn't had that continuity. Yeah. Some of his numbers are crazy. His numbers last year in terms of he was the best in the league when he was pressure in terms of QBR. He was the best outside the pocket. He doesn't want to play there, but when he has to, he can. I think some of the situation around him has been tougher than it's made out to. So I'm thinking about the whole season. The postseason has obviously been a problem for him, but I'm taking Dak.
Okay, I'm gonna go Jordan Love.
Yeah, he was next for me.
And that's why, to me, those three guys, I had Goff, Prescott, and Jordan Love. Those guys were all touching each other for me. So that's why when you get into this part of it, it's not a decision of this guy or that guy. It's usually 3, 4, 5 different guys you're trying to pick from. But I'll go Jordan Love. And again, that whole group is just growing up together. So as good as it was at the end of last year, everything's on the trending up.
I had one more guy in that group, and it was Jalen Hurts, who's, I think, born months apart from Jordan Love, which you don't think of them together, but basically the same age. Love's interesting because when he would play in the preseason, and PFF ranks big time throws and turnover where he plays, and he was always first in the league in percentage-wise of both of them. But last year, he really didn't put the ball up for grabs. He still had the big time throws, but he was pretty careful with the ball, so it's just sample size. Ceiling-wise, he could be top 5, top 6, but he reminds me a little bit of Kaepernick, just not as a player at all, but just when Kaepernick came out, that first offseason, I was like, this guy could do absolutely everything. And then once there's a little more tape on him, he was still great that next year, but I just want to see a little more of Jordan Love. And that's why I'm giving Hurts a bit of a pass for last year. We've seen what his ceiling is, which is one of the greatest Super Bowl performances ever. We know the floor he has in terms of his running ability, what that provides in short yardage. Great deep ball thrower. He's had some ups and downs in terms of how he handles the blitz. He wasn't healthy last year, but I like that he's played a lot, whereas Jordan Love necessarily hasn't. And I think people are a little too quick to just throw him out of the top 10 because he wasn't expected to be this great quarterback when he came into the league. But I always appreciate it. You went out of your way to put him higher than most going into that draft because you just said you talked to too many people that said there's something about this kid, even if you don't always see it with your eyes, that he's going to have a better career than you expected, and you were right about that.
Yeah, his makeup was off the charts. And at some point in time, you're like, this guy's too competitive. He's too tough. And all that stuff is going to kind of just pull his talent level up to catch up with where he needed to be. So, I think I'm with you on that one. All right, this next one, I'm between two guys, and we'll see if you take the one I was going to take. But I'm actually going to go, maybe against the grain a little bit here. I'm going to take Kirk Cousins with my next pick.
That would not have been my next pick just because
I think Kirk Cousins, coming off the injury, but again, I don't think that is an injury for him that's going to be as impactful as it would be for others. He's going to sit back in the pocket, and by the way, my TV just came on. The NFL Network just turned the lights on, and this other TV, which
looks
they control.
Looks good. We got to fly Bucky style through the rest of this.
Yeah, which I don't know why they did that because A, I'm not on the network today, and B, we don't use those lights. But anyways, if I start sweating, that's why I feel like a chicken McNugget in here. Kirk Cousins to me, and I talked to Kevin O'Connell about it last year, and they wanted to bring him back. It didn't work out in Minnesota, and Kevin's like, he was on his way to being the MVP of the league last year. So I still think he's going to have a big year with all the stuff they have there in place in Atlanta.
I'm surprised. For the first time, I'm going off my board, picking someone that's one spot lower, because now that he's just sitting there at this late, it's too good of a value. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Maybe not as down as consistent in the progress that you want, but it's and I've probably always been lower on consensus just off what he's done in the NFL than Trevor Lawrence, but he has been and is absolutely an above average quarterback that can make every throw. And like this, maybe the ceiling isn't quite as high as we expected, but he's been a top 10 to 12 quarterback. He should still be getting better. So I feel good about getting him this late.
Yeah, I was going to take him there. That was my choice with Kirk and him. And Trevor not being healthy last year, and I think not being able to practice at all during the week, I think that had a big impact. He's got to get better, though, just like the situational stuff, and that was maybe the tiebreaker. You can't be down inside the 10-yard line, turn the ball over. You can't, you got to just be a little bit better at some of the quote-unquote quarterbacking stuff. So, all right, at this point in time, I feel like don't we have to account for Tua's production at this point in time? I know that the skills, he's not going to wow you with that, but I think in terms of drafting for this year in a system that's been tailor-made for him, and it's skinny Tua now, like he's all like in great shape and everything. So we'll see what that looks like. Hopefully he stays healthy, but at this point in time, I think it's just disrespectful if I don't take him based off his production.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not worried about respect. I'm just worried about building a championship. I don't know what that means, but maybe we'll put up.
By the way, is their comparison that I've used on them is that they are. You remember how the Colts, we would just always say, and during those years, the Peyton run, like there's nobody more dependent on being at home in the playoffs than the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Miami Dolphins are the modern day Colts, where. If they can get home field and get healthy going into the tournament, I think they could be a Super Bowl team. I really do. But they are dependent on playing in their own environment.
Well, then they need to jump out like the Colts would do it seemingly every season at like 9-2.
Yeah.
Like they always just got so far ahead in the race. I'm excited. Kyler is here. I thought he showed some really exciting things over the last half of last season because you could tell he wasn't 100% there physically, but I thought he threw more over the middle of the field. I think he was a nice fit for that offense. I still think he's the ceiling. We've seen the ceiling. He can have like a stretch of 5 to 8 games, like a Kirk Cousins, who to me is streakier than people realize, where he looks like an MVP candidate. It's flattening out the bad weeks, but man, I still think the best is yet to come for Kyler Murray.
Yep. I'm excited to see that group. I think it's kind of like a sneaky decent support cast when you look at what they have there. So I like that. Okay. All right. Where do I want to go here with this next one? Starts getting a little tricky. I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go with Geno Smith here.
Oh my God, that hurts me. What did I just should have moved him up. The fact they don't have Geno Smith in this draft is killing me.
Wow. So, by the way, how much did you enjoy your friendship with Mina now that it's over? By the way, do you want to talk about that or no?
Well, why would that be?
You just gave me Geno Smith with the 17th pick.
I've been pumping up Geno Smith so hard for so many years. It's almost like a parent that watches, he's at college. He's getting all the love. He's winning the Heisman. I did my job. People are giving him. It's been the offseason to Gemo. I think you give him time. Everyone knows he'll dice you. Now it's just common conventional wisdom how good he is. Look, you're even taking him this high. But I do feel.
It's feeling like Geno just chose to live with Dad. That's what I just think would happen right there.
Aaron Rodgers. We both have doubts clearly that he lasted this long. I thought I had him so low that there was no chance I would get him. He was below Geno for me, but he is next on my list. And yeah, it's crazy how deep quarterback is that we're putting him below average right now. Like we're past 16. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I don't know.
He wasn't that good the last time he played, and he's coming off an Achilles.
Again, I'm not going to overreact to what you saw in 4 plays, but him holding the ball on quick game, for the 4 snaps didn't get me super inspired about what that's going to look like. Anyways, we'll see what happens there. All right, next one for me, I'm going to go with Baker.
Okay.
I think Baker getting comfortable and settling in there. I think he takes another step.
I think he's the best of those guys that are just kind of stopgap quarterbacks, but I did have him lower than some of the exciting young players, including Caleb Williams. I know he's a rookie. I mean, we've seen enough.
I was trying to hold my water on that. I was hoping I'd just push it off another pick.
I mean, what, you want me to take freaking Baker Mayfield over Caleb Williams? No way. I mean, we've seen rookies come in, and when I watched him in May, I'm not like you watching all these guys so much every year, but just for a prospect, he was the most exciting I could remember since Luck. And May was in that conversation too to me, maybe like a little below that, but just in terms of excitement. And I don't see why if Justin Herbert and Stroud can play that well as rookie, why can't Caleb Williams? Let's go.
Yeah, I just spent so many months talking about Caleb that I was just I was hoping that maybe you hadn't done your homework.
Hey, no, you got to get
apparently you
Baker running around there, getting caught, trying to make a play on the edge.
No, I just think the launching point is not going to be as immediate as Stroud. Like Stroud, as we talked about, kind of you get to like week 8, week 9. I think you could see Caleb struggle a little bit more than Stroud did, and I think you'll see Caleb in like the last quarter of the season. I think when you'll see his ability kind of jump out. All right, I'll might as well just, if we're going to do the rookie thing, then I'll just turn around and take Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden, the support cast is not nearly as good as Chicago, but I think just in his development, and I said this throughout the draft process, I'm playing the long game with Caleb. I think Jaden's going to be a little bit ahead to begin with.
Okay. And yeah, like a lot of these guys, but especially Jaden, the running provides a floor of going to be able to get first downs and just when plays don't go right. And it might not with that offensive line. I'm going with Anthony Richardson next. I was impressed how he got to his second read pretty quick. He took too many sacks, but you saw some good things in those games that he played. Anticipation, like not incredibly accurate, but we know what he adds as a runner. Like why can't he be at least for now, like a poor man's Jalen Hurts or get even closer. And then who knows, maybe by the middle of the season, he's even better than that.
All right. I mean, at some point in time, though, I think I have to just kind of have to hope that you're going to see something from Deshaun Watson that we saw when he was young. I mean, it's just, to me, it's at this point in time where I'm like, I'll just take the risk here that somehow that player who I do not feel like is a great fit in that offense, in that system, that somehow we're all proven wrong there. But I have to bet on the talent at some point in time. It's a 23rd pick, for crying out loud.
He doesn't play with confidence. He doesn't
have any.
With
he doesn't play with any
even without getting
either.
Right, even without getting into why he was suspended and everything. He doesn't speak or play with a guy with a lot of freedom or confidence like he's enjoying.
He doesn't fit that system. But
yeah, maybe that's why. I'm going to go Drake May next. I know he's not the week 1 starter necessarily. This may be too low. Like if Anthony Richardson could be effective right away, I'm not buying that. It's going to take forever for this dude's traits to just come out. Maybe it's not all perfect, but I liked what he did doing quarterbacky things, especially his junior year at UNC. It's not like he didn't show that, so I'm excited to have Drake May. Let's go.
Okay. All right, not the sexiest pick, but I think of where we are, it's going to be efficient at this point in time. It's the Derek Carr portion of the draft, so I'll take Carr.
Yeah. It's funny because when you said not the sexiest pick, I just knew
who I'm taking.
I knew it was Derek Carr, which is ironic because his brother, very sexy.
Yeah,
Will Levis, intriguing type of guy I fall for. Who, man, his good games are really good, great traits. It has a chance here. I think has a little bit better of a chance. I think maybe it was you that compared him to Jay Cutler. I've heard other people.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. And, man, Jay Cutler made a lot of money and had a really good career. And if Will Levis had that career, I think the Titans would be happy.
All right, we're speed round. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's next on my list. Yeah.
They like what they've seen thus far. So everybody's optimistic this time of year, but everything I've heard is up.
2 teams have given up on him. The Broncos, had to eat so much money to dump him. But he would have been my pick, too. I'm going Daniel Jones. It's just hard to evaluate because he's never protected, but he does throw a nice ball. He can run. If he ever was protected, he'll provide a baseline that's fine.
All right, I'm going to go with Bryce Young and hope that we see improvement. That's I don't need greatness, I need improvement. So we'll go there.
I think he showed enough to get just a little bit of optimism. I'll go Darnold because I just think I can't believe I ended up with Darnold and you ended up with Geno Smith in this draft. Something's wrong because I've always been a
can we trade?
Skeptic. Yeah, please, yes, please. I think he'll wind up playing more. I think it's a great situation. This is his chance. You guys have thought that this is his chance like 4 different times to finally be proven right, but I really think this is his chance because I think it's a good situation. I think he'll play well in it.
Yeah, I would actually make that trade because when I was going through, I was going.
Okay, let's do it. I get Geno. Trade.
And I might need 2 for 1. So give me. We
have 2 teams
left. Darnold. Okay, let me just get through. Let's just get these last 2 guys picked because I'm already 4 minutes late for move to 6, Greg. Let's go. I'll go. You already went Levis, so he's gone. Oh my gosh, dude.
You have the Broncos and the Raiders next. So we said 32 teams have to be covered.
Oh, okay,
You
so
cannot
those
take
all
anybody.
those only the only ones.
Those
we
are the
have
only
left,
two
so-
teams left. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go Bo Nix then. Give me Bo Nix.
And why not? Sean
You
Payton.
got Aiden O'Connell.
A little
Wrap
prettier.
it up.
I'm going Aiden O'Connell. Davante
Yeah.
Adams' favorite quarterback, apparently. Seems to really
Okay.
like Aiden O'Connell. Hey, as fourth round rookies go, he outplayed the number 1 overall pick. Give him credit for that. You know.
Yeah, no, he diced up the Chargers. I was there for that one. 60.
Sorry for making you late. Finally, I will offer you a 2-for-1. I will give you Darnold and and Daniel Jones for.
I'll take
for
Darnold
Gino.
and Levis. I'll take Darnold and Levis for Gino.
All right, that's
Done.
That's why you're a future GM. This guy is so
No,
good.
thanks.
He's
I'm
stiff
just here to
arming.
pitch soap and freaking mayonnaise, man. That's all I'm here for.
He's stiff arming job offers left and right just to read ads with us. Appreciate you. Have fun in Alaska, and hope to get you back on NFL Daily on the other side when
Cool.
you're nice and rested. See you, DJ.
See you, buddy.
All right. Thank you again to Daniel Jeremiah. He's off to tape another podcast, and he's off to Alaska. Hope to get him on during the rest of the season. Stay tuned for our last show of the week. Really excited about this one with Nick Shook on Friday. Till then, see you next time.